Hello my fellow Welt lovers. Oh boy, do I have some tea to spill today because the Honkai Star Rail drip gods have blessed us with not only the official confirmation of Dan Heng's brand new shiny 5-star form, but also some juicy details about his kit, how he works, and the real kicker, the whole free or not free mystery. And before I even let my hype train fully leave the station, let me toss you a little gift to start this video off right. There's a redeem code from today's update in the comment section for a free 60 stellar jades. That's right, free pulls for all my gacha degenerates. Go grab it before it expires, because you know how fast these things vanish. Topping up in Genshin or Star Rail can get expensive, and let's be honest, we've all seen those in-game prices and wished they were just a bit lower. Well, that's exactly what LD Shop is here for. This is LD Shop, the official top-up platform developed by the LD Player Emulator Group. It lets you top up your favorite games like Genshin Impact and Star Rail at huge discounts, up to 23% off or more. And yeah, it's super easy to use. All you need is your server and UID, and your top-up will show up in-game within just a few minutes. It's safe, reliable, and used by thousands of players. You can even compare prices, for example, something like the Supply Pass or a 6480 Stellar Jade Bundle. It's way cheaper here than in-game. If you register using my link, you'll get a 15% off coupon and an extra 5% off coupon, which can save you up to $50 on your first top-ups. Plus, LD Shop gives you the same first top-up bonus you get in-game, so you're not missing out on anything. And if you're planning to spend more, here's a bonus. If you spend over $80, you'll unlock VIP status, which gives you a free supply pass and more perks. So if you're looking to save while still getting everything you normally would in-game, just use the link in the description and get Hysilens while saving more. Now onto the main course, and yes, by main course, I mean Dan Heng Preservation Edition. Yeah, I'm calling him PT for short because saying his full title every time makes me feel like I'm introducing royalty, which, let's be honest, is not far from the truth here. So here's the wild thing. In both version 3.7 and 3.8, HSR is apparently only giving us one new limited 5-star character per patch. That's kind of a big shift considering we've been spoiled rotten with double banners in the past. It also means Dan Heng PT is about to hog the spotlight in the same way Jinglu used to steal our hearts and wallets. The dude's going to be the face of the update whether you like it or not, and I, for one, am not complaining. His kit? Well, buckle up because it's weird, it's unique, and it's got one big, golden, scaly selling point. The dragon. Yes, the literal preservation dragon. And no, before you get too excited, this thing is not going to be raining fire and destruction all over the battlefield every turn, at least not without a little setup. His normal skill is basically all about shielding. Pure, uncut, chunky shields. The dragon? It just floats there menacingly. It's only after you pop his burst that the dragon gets to flex its claws a little and deal some damage. So in a way, Dan Heng's dragon is like that one super chill friend who only gets involved when the party's really heating up. Now here's where it gets spicy. Dan Heng PT's summon, the aforementioned dragon, doesn't just hang out doing its own thing. Oh no. It actually bases its stats on the character he's protecting. Meaning, if he shields Phanon, the dragon basically becomes Phanon's personal battle buddy, inheriting Phanon's attack, crit, and whatever other juicy stats they've got. You slap that thing onto your main DPS, and it's like giving them a tag team partner from another dimension. If you're running him with someone like Phanon or Sunday, you're going to see some downright disrespectful damage numbers because the dragon scales right alongside them. And remember, since Dan Heng is a preservation unit, he's doing all this while keeping your team alive with beefy shields. We love a multitasker. Speaking of which, his actual utility spread is surprisingly varied. Sure, he's not pure support like Jeopard or March 7th, but he's not just a selfish DPS either. He does have a little sprinkle of buffing capability, nothing game-breaking, but enough to make him more than just the shield guy. The dragon will mostly be defensive in normal gameplay, but after bursting, it gets a window to start dealing damage. Think of it like unlocking combat mode for your pet. And because its stats are pulled directly from your DPS, it's terrifyingly easy to make this thing scale into something monstrous. It's basically a mirror of your carry, except it doesn't have to worry about speed tuning or action order, because it's just piggybacking on your choices. And because I know some of you are only here for the freebie news, yes, the whispers are still going strong that Dan Heng PT is going to be handed out for free in 3.6. Now, I'll be honest, when I first heard this I laughed because giving a popular, high-effort 5-star for free is the kind of move that could crash the servers with sheer player hype. But the sources have been piling up, and I'm now at the point where I'm expecting this announcement during the live stream. If this is true, it means your only real cost is building him. No banner stress, no 50-50 heartbreak. You just wake up one patch and boom, Preservation Dan Heng is sitting in your mailbox like, "Hi, I protect you now." And that also frees up your pulls for whatever monstrosity they throw at us in 3.7 or 3.8. Now, about how he feels to actually use. I'm getting some very strategic, partner-based gameplay vibes from him. You don't just spam his skill on whoever. You actually have to think about which ally benefits most from having a stat-mimicking dragon glued to them. And given that the dragon doesn't attack much outside of his burst window, you'll probably want to line up big DPS moments with his ultimate. It's got this sort of support DPS crescendo feel that reminds me of characters who aren't in the spotlight every turn, but when they do step forward, it's fireworks. Pair him with someone like Sunday who buff summons, and suddenly you've got a 2-for-1 powerhouse. I'm talking extra summon buffs plus action advances that let the dragon strike sooner. It's disgusting in the best way. And okay, let's talk numbers, because people are already asking, but is the dragon's damage even worth building around? My gut says yes. HSR has a habit of making the main gimmick of a kit actually hit hard enough to, especially when the rest of the kit is literally designed to make that gimmick shine. Dan Heng PT's entire playstyle revolves around maximizing the value of his summon, so it would make zero sense for them to make it a wet noodle. Even though we don't have the exact multipliers yet, everything points toward the dragon being a legitimate damage contributor once you set it up right. Remember, this isn't like some random passive pet that's just there for aesthetic points. It inherits real, meaningful stats from the person it's shielding. If your main carry is kitted out with cracked crit rate, crit damage, and attack stats, the dragon becomes a second carry in the same turn cycle. That's insane value for a preservation unit. And let's not forget, Dan Heng PT is an attack scaling preservation character. That's already weird because most shielders in this game scale on DF, HP, or some kind of sustained stat. This means you can stack pure offensive gear on him, and you're indirectly buffing both his shields and his dragon's damage. It's a win-win scenario where you don't have to choose between making him tanky or making him hit hard. He just does both by design. This also means he's going to be one of those characters where relic optimization actually feels rewarding, because you'll see improvements in multiple parts of his kit at the same time. Now, for those wondering about the bigger patch picture, yeah, it's true. In both 3.7 and 3.8, we're only getting one limited 5-star. That's a massive slowdown compared to some of the double feature patches we've been living through. On the bright side, it gives the devs more room to really polish and showcase each new character. On the not-so-bright side, it means there's less banner variety in a single patch. So if you're not into the one new unit, you might feel like the update's a bit slower. But honestly, with Dan Heng PT's kit being as unique as it is, I feel like he's going to carry a whole patch's worth of hype by himself. But the part that's really going to make him break into the meta is his synergy with stat-boosted ULT forms. Imagine him paired with Phanon. When Phanon goes ultimate form, stacking crazy stats and multipliers, the dragon is just sitting there, quietly inheriting all of it. That's double the value for zero extra effort. And with characters like Sunday handing out summon buffs like Candy, Dan Heng's dragon isn't just a bonus, it's a core part of the damage rotation. And since the dragon is technically treated as their summon and not Dan Heng's, it gets to bypass some of the weird limitations that other supports face. That's just clever design. Also, minor but spicy side note, there's a new relic set coming in 3.6 that restores skill points for allies. Early testing is already showing that Dan Heng PT runs this set like he was made for it. That means on top of shielding and summon DPS, he's feeding your team skill points. Skill points. Do you understand the levels of utility stacking we're talking about here? He's basically a sustain, buffer, sub-DPS, and skill battery rolled into one. I'm not saying he's going to be the perfect fit for every team, but the amount of boxes he ticks is getting a little suspicious. And yeah, I hear you skeptics in the back going, free unit means underpowered. But let's not forget, both of the last two free characters were absolute monsters in the right setups. This game has a solid history of making free characters worth building. If anything, making him free might just be their way of ensuring every player has access to a high-quality sustain option without locking it behind gacha RNG. That's honestly a great move from a balance perspective, especially as enemy damage keeps scaling in later content. So here's where I'm at. Dan Heng PT isn't just a shielder with a dragon. He's a precision tool for amplifying your main DPS while keeping your team alive, all without eating into your skill point economy. He's the kind of unit that's going to feel busted when you pair him with the right carry, and just solidly good everywhere else. If he really is free in 3.6, that's a massive win for literally everyone. And if the dragon's numbers land as high as I think they will, oh, we're going to see him in every other team showcase for months. That's the rundown, my friends. Dan Heng's 5-star preservation form is shaping up to be one of the most interesting releases in a long time, and with a 1 new 5-star per patch plan in 3.7 and 3.8, the spotlight's all his. Make sure you grab that redeem code in the comments for your 60 stellar jades, because whether you're saving for him, Feinon, or whatever madness is coming in 3.8, every pull counts. Now go ahead and tell me in the comments, are you hyped for Dragon Dad Heng? Or are you skipping him for the next big thing? Because I already know I'm building him day one.